Hi there, I'm Laura. I'm an occupational therapist and a yoga therapist. Today we're going to talk about the relationship between living with anxiety and our practice in yoga that encompasses chanting, mantra, kirtan, which is the music where we chant mantra together. These are incredibly valuable tools for anyone with the lived experience of anxiety. Chanting is a practice that can be incredibly soothing to the nervous system. It can help us to break patterns of worry, anxiety, and fear. It can help us to stop a pattern of rumination where our brain is just churning and churning obsessively about something that happened, something that we said. Some of us have very strong patterns in our mind where we tend to hold on to something and churn. That is the exact same pattern that we use when we are working with a mantra. We take the words, we take the song, and we repeat that mantra over and over again. So it's a very similar circuit that we use in the brain. And if you are somebody who has that pattern where you tend to hold something and spin it around, but it tends to be something that creates worry or negativity, then try swapping that out for a mantra. And I always say that when we're working with the anxious mind or the nervous system where it's really kind of keyed up and you have high activation, you need the mantra to be something a little bit long and complicated. Not super complicated, but complicated enough that your brain has to work to recall it. And I have a series of mantras that I like to use in this situation. The Mangalacharan, the protection chant that we use in Kundalini Yoga is a great one. The Om Triambakam mantra is a really nice one. There are several longer mantras that take a bit of practice for you to learn them, but once you have them, they're in your mind and you can always pull them out. If you're standing in line at the grocery store and your brain starts to worry about something that happened at work, and you go, okay, I see my brain doing that pattern that it likes to do of worry. This is worry. This is not planning. This is not me problem solving or making any forward progress. My brain just wants something to hold on to and chew on. So let me give it the mantra, and it's going to exercise that same circuit where I get to churn, but the mantra has a positive vibration to it. If you've studied mantras, they're always something about connecting to love or wholeness or feeling supported by the universe. Like there's all these universal themes that get repeated over and over in our mantras. So they always have some sort of a positive vibration when we work with them. So we have that first option of learning a mantra and using it in the mind when we need to break a cycle of worry. That's one that I use when I wake up at 3 in the morning and my brain is coming up with the most creative what if scenarios that it could possibly think. What if this happens? What if that happens? What would you do? And the fear starts to creep up. And I notice that pattern and I go, okay, brain, not now. This is rest time. This is not worry time. Let me work with my mantra. And I'll pick one that feels good for that moment and I'll start to recite it in my mind. Now, sounds all lovely, right? If this works. But the reality of the experience is that as I sit there in bed at 3 in the morning and my brain wants to be in a worry pattern, it will keep being pulled back toward that worry. So I'll be going through my mantra and then my brain will throw in another what if this happens? And I go, okay, I see that, brain. I see that you want to worry right now. Right now, this is time for me to rest. I'm going to let my mind work with the mantra and I come back to it. saying the words, letting the vibration expand in my body like it's soaking into every cell, letting it take up space, letting it absorb all of my energy. And I might have to do that 5 times or 10 times to pull myself back to the mantra. But eventually that mantra clears out enough space and creates enough of a settling, calming effect that I'm able to go back to sleep. So that's an incredibly important thing that many of us that live with anxiety tend to experience, that waking up at night with worry. Switch it out for the mantra. For some of us, music is something that is incredibly therapeutic. And music is the way that I learned pretty much all the mantras that I know. I think every single one, maybe just a few that I learned when I was at the yoga ashram where we would chant out loud when I learned some new ones. But the vast majority of mantras that I know, I learned from listening to kirtan music. So kirtan is kind of a very specific form of call and response. When it's done in the traditional way, there's somebody singing it and they will say the mantra, and then the group of people who are listening will repeat the mantra back, and there's this beautiful back and forth where you're actually saying the mantra out loud. Most of us are not at a concert listening to that music, but there's so much beautiful music using yoga mantras that you can find online, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Music, all the different places. Lots and lots of music. So I create these playlists where I have my morning mantras that I use to really get my head in the right frame of mind before I go into my day. I might listen to those while I'm getting ready in the morning. I might listen to them while I'm driving to work, or anything that I am doing in the morning so that I can listen to it, maybe even sing along with it, because singing creates that vibration through the throat. So we get that extra benefit of stimulating the vagus nerve, something that is calming. If you have morning anxiety, which a lot of people do, morning anxiety, very common because that's when our stress hormones are increasing so that we can be awake. But the unfortunate result of that for people who live with anxiety is morning anxiety. Chanting and listening to a specific set of songs in the morning that have a very strong calming and uplifting feeling to them can help you to balance out that feeling. It trains the nervous system that as we chant along, as we sing along, it helps us to shift our nervous system into feeling safe. That's the important thing when we're trying to soften that experience of anxiety and come back to that sense of security. So mantra, chanting, singing kirtan music, all of these things are so very helpful, and it brings something into our mind that has this positive vibration. It has this productive quality of saying, okay, ruminating and going deeper into that negative fear spiral is not helpful for me right now. I'm going to shift my energy very intentionally toward this thing that is supportive, that is helpful. So this is how chanting became one of the biggest parts of my daily practice. At this point, over 20 years into my study of yoga, I don't do yoga postures every day, but I do some form of chanting and mantra every single day because it's that helpful at shifting my nervous system away from fight, flight, fear into that space of feeling safe and connected. That is the power of mantra and chanting. Hi there, I'm Laura. Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you are subscribed. You can also head over to LauraGyoga.com to get into our virtual yoga studio. That is our community for healing and self-development through the techniques of yoga therapy. You can join us for meditation sessions, therapeutic workshops, live yoga classes. You can check out the on-demand yoga therapy library with over 400 videos and growing every day. And you can also book a private session to work with me as a yoga therapist. You might want to check out one of these videos picked out especially for you, and I will see you in the next one.